Never surely has there been a cup final with such an all-star cast. Everton's Pat van den Hauwe is the only player who hasn't appeared at Wembley before, but he's one of 10 in their team who are members of current international squads. Southall, Wales; Stevens, England; van den Hauwe and Ratcliffe, Wales; Mountfield, the odd man out for now; Reid and Stephen, both called up by England; Sharp and Gray, both in Jock Stein's Scotland party; Paul Bracewell, who also joins Bobby Robson's England squad tonight; and Sheedy of the Irish Republic. But Manchester United can go one better, because we believe they're the first team in the history of Wembley FA Cup finals to take the field with 11 players already capped at full international level. Bailey and Gidman have both played for England; Albiston, Scotland; Whiteside plays for Northern Ireland; McGrath and Moran for the Republic; Robson, the England captain; Strachan of Scotland; Hughes of Wales; Stapleton, Republic of Ireland; and Jesper Olsen of Denmark. So where do you look for your match winner? You might be tempted to look first at Andy Gray, whose goal in Rotterdam emphasised his liking for the big occasion, scored in the final here against Watford, and got the winner too in a League Cup final for Wolves. Also on a Wembley hat-trick, Frank Stapleton, who scored in the FA Cup final for United 2 years ago and for Arsenal before that, and today he equals another record, appearing in his 5th FA Cup final at Wembley, a feat achieved only previously by Joe Hume, Johnny Giles and Pat Rice. And his United striking partner Mark Hughes, who's come from nowhere this season to terrorise the best. Two captains, Brian Robson on the left and Kevin Ratcliffe on the right, captains of England and Wales respectively. Both have been up to receive the FA Cup in the last 2 seasons. I wonder which one will be there this year, first up the steps. Peter Willis, the referee there, has had some 800 letters and cards wishing him good luck because he's the president of the National Referees Association, and they're proud of him. Here's the man who Stapleton and Hughes have got to try to beat. Everton's human barricade, Neville Southall. You couldn't count the saves he's made, but when the football writers counted their votes, he was named Footballer of the Year. And now, before the kick-off, the minute's silence as we pay our respects to the memory of those 52 people who only a week ago died on an afternoon when they had set out to watch a football match. So Everton, all in blue, start what for them could be a momentous match. Can they clinch the FA Cup to go with the League Championship and their European trophy? Or will Manchester United in red stop them at the final hurdle? Number 6, Peter Reid. Gary Stevens looks for Sharp. Sharp was penalised. Over the head of Ratcliffe, and he was pushing Stapleton, so another free kick to Manchester United. Robson, short to Strachan. Into Hughes. Gray. Augustin. Sheedy, Van den Hauwe. Whiteside. Gray. Was Olsen. And again. Whiteside looks for Hughes, offside. Offside again. Olsen. Kevin Moran. And the other centre-back, Paul McGrath. Ratcliffe knew the back pass wasn't on. Stapleton had gone in behind him. Kidman. McGrath, away by Mountfield to Gray, Stephen. United's free kick. Stapleton's header, Whiteside's in there, and he got in front of Southall, who has gone down.
Just wonder there, John, whether Everton felt they were still playing Rapid Vienna. He was a touch casual in that, almost the pace, playing the pace of the game on Wednesday night is against the pace of the game which obviously will be here this afternoon. Sudden transformation, you can warn players about it, but suddenly the tempo is going to be that much faster, but feeling it on the field is a different proposition.
Colin Harvey, nearer to the camera, the Everton coach. Robson. Peter Reid warned after a challenge on Whiteside, and that could get spicy in the midfield. The chunky cornerstone of Everton's teamwork, Peter Reid. Here's Augustin. Five minutes gone. Gray. Flags up for offside. This Everton back line keep their shape so well that Manchester United will have to time their runs to perfection, and it may be a midfield player in the end who gets through, somebody like Robson rather than a striker. Gray. Trevor Stephen in space on the right. Sharp's waiting in the centre, so is Sheedy. Stevens. Stephen again. Stevens. Goalkeepers perhaps appreciating a chance to take a cross as comfortably as that early in a final. Gary Bailey was not challenged. Here's Gidman. Good-looking ball, Stapleton. Inside to Strachan. Robson's also on here. Gray making his way forward, and so too is Derek Mountfield. Number 5 there. He's scored 14 goals this season from set plays, many of them like this. Stevens takes. And half away, Bracewell tried to make it, and a foot was up there by Bracewell. Free kick for dangerous play. Everton have yet to concede a goal at Wembley. They've had 3 appearances here. Liverpool in the Milk Cup, Watford in the FA Cup, and Liverpool in the Charity Shield. Clean sheet every time. That was Stapleton. Vanden Hauwe. Sheedy. Robson. Strachan. Right side. Oh! Almost cut out by Gray. Stevens. Swept across towards Sharp. McGrath, the defender. Goal kick. Appears to have recovered from his early knock. There's Gray, Orbiston, Moran. Arms going out there on the Manchester United bench. Of the crowd in shirt sleeves on this very warm afternoon. Something like 70 degrees down there. Aimed at Sharp. Bailey coming for it. Left for Ree to volley. And off the post. Peter Reid, so close to the opening goal. The referee has given a corner, suggesting it came off a Manchester United foot. But the danger is not over yet. Vanden Hauwe and Gray will take up the near post positions. Gray is in there competing. Sheedy. Well, what a near thing this was for Manchester United. When the cross first came in, Gary Bailey, under pressure, had to punch. It came out to Peter Reid. The foot of Gidman, then the post. Reid. So Peter Reid denied. John Gidman takes credit for a fine clearance. So Everton close to the opening goal. Right side. Olsen looking on the left for Arthur Albiston. Gary Stevens. Strachan. Ratcliffe. Here's Gidman in attack this time. Useful ball in. Oof. It's a goal kick. Gidman seen there in attack, Jimmy, but in defence, what a timely clearance at the other end.
It was indeed, and I'm not blaming Gary Bailey for that punch, because all goalkeepers, when they come out to punch like that, the one thing they must do is get it high so that defenders can get out and cover it, and he did exactly that. But the defence were very slow to cover Peter Reid, gave him the chance for volley, and Gidman's foot definitely flicked it just past the post, hence the corner.
Here's Robson. This is Hughes. And away by Mountfield. Little tangle was between Sharp and Moran. Stapleton, pushing, was it? Foul by Stapleton. Sharp. Stapleton's header making Hughes stretch. Stevens with the long throw, looking for Andy Gray, and Orbiston cut it out. So, Reid now for Everton. On to Vanden Hauwe.
Well, that was almost first blood to Everton, the incident we've described, but there's nothing in the match so far. I think just the Everton back four, just once or twice there, have showed the sort of lassitude that one perhaps might have expected after their midweek visit to Europe, a successful visit which we all enjoyed so much. But, you know, hands on hips at this stage. They must know they've got a battle on their hands, and that they've got to keep mentally alert for another hour or so, just to give them the opportunity to win that elusive trophy.
Kevin Moran is okay after attention. He's had many facial injuries in his time. 11 minutes gone. And that's Vanden Hauwe. 11 minutes gone when we had that goal line clearance by John Gidman, and that was the nearest we've been to a goal in this opening quarter of an hour. He really got a timely foot in there to deflect that onto the post and to deny Peter Reid, because Bailey was beaten, there's no doubt about that. That was Reid. Very sharp. Stevens, right side. Now can he open it up for United? Olsen may be able to. This is Augustin, and they're streaming forward, the red shirts. Mark Hughes, two in the centre. Oh, what a good challenge by Reid. Well, no wonder he's the player's choice as the player of the year. One moment he's up there, striking the post for Everton, and the next minute he's back in defence, denying Manchester United the chance to get what could have been a telling cross into the area. The all-purpose midfield performer. That's a foul by Andy Gray. Gray and Sharp have both contested decisions given against them by Peter Willis in this opening period. Difficult when these tall players are going for the ball to decide who's actually the offender. Here's McGrath. looks for Hughes. Now Whiteside, but the whistle's already gone. This was a foul by Hughes at the other end. Gray's begun to run through the centre, but he's offside. Indeed, the rhythm of this match has been interrupted in the opening quarter by a lot of free kicks, but the crowd applauding Andy Gray for returning the ball. Kidman, McGrath. This is Bracewell, fairly deep. Sharp, then Stephen, and now Stevens. Bracewell's made an interesting run on the right, but Moran saw him. Bailey came all the way, and then had to play left back. Found Jesper Olsen with a nice pass. Whiteside. Stapleton on the chest. Oh, good ball. Strachan. Olsen's gone through the centre. Hughes breaking. Sharp. Good touch by Stapleton to Strachan. They can see Olsen, he's right over on the touchline. Augustin's making the extra man outside him. This is Stapleton. And it still is. And he's laid it back to Robson.
Well, that's the second shot that Brian Robson's had, and he, no more than anybody, that's not the sort of power and direction that he expects or enjoys. But just a word, John, you were saying about Peter Reid. The crowd are saying, they're chanting, I don't know whether you can hear it at home, he's fat, he's round, and he's worth £1 million, and he's certainly proved that this season, there's no question about it. Not only because he's such an influence in the middle of the field, but the younger players are learning from him all the while. He had that dismal period in his career halfway through with injury and trouble with clubs, and I think sometimes players really value that when they get back to the game and make the most of it, and if anybody's made the most of it, that man has. Peter Reid, splendid play.
There's a misplaced pass by John Gidman there. It's given Everton an advantage. Good defending though by Moran. Long throw by Stevens, looking for Gray. And Bailey again comes to punch over the heads of those in front of him. Sharp headed that on, missed by Gidman. McGrath hit Gidman with his clearance. Everton appealed for hands. Play goes on. Stevens and Andy Gray's underneath this. Goal kick. Just a suggestion there that the Manchester United back four, and those two players in particular, might have got each other into difficulties. They were looking for a handball decision here, Everton, because it hit Gidman. It wasn't intentional. So the referee allowed play to go on. think our camera proved him to be absolutely right there. Here's Andy Gray. Sheedy. We're halfway through the first half. Everton 0, Manchester United 0. Everton have come closer to scoring, and here's Sharp. Stephen is outside him. Still Sharp. And Bracewell. But now Robson. Looks for Stapleton. Oh, good dummy. Strachan went on his outside. Stapleton shot. Look at Gordon Strachan here, the number 8. He goes outside to fool the defender and gives Stapleton a lot of room the other way. Bit short by Orbiston, and Bailey had to come to block Gray, and Orbiston had a chance to make amends. Gray was nearly there. Orbiston held his breath. Stevens. Everton throw. Here's Reid. Vanden Hauwe. Reid again. Vanden Hauwe against Skidman.
Well, you can say some things about Gary Bailey. Occasionally he's made the slip on the big occasion, but that took the utmost in courage to come out against Andy Gray's feet in that position there. And well done. There are not many people who would have liked to have been in his position there.
One recalls how Gray upset the Watford goalkeeper last year, Steve Sherwood, in scoring Everton's second and clinching goal. A different sort of challenge, but it was his physical presence that caused it. Still the suggestion that Everton might have been marginally the more dangerous side in the opening period. Not much in it. Here's Bracewell. This is Vanden Hauwe. Stephen is well forward. He'd moved into the centre-forward position there, Trevor Stephen. Back to his original spot now to cover. Olsen. Robson. Here's Strachan, and Olsen was pulling away on the left, but the ball couldn't reach him quickly enough from Strachan to open things up for United. Olsen. Robson and Bracewell together there. Forward by Reid. The ball's slowing up a bit here, and Andy Gray's going in on Bailey. McGrath. And the flag was up for offside. Awkward for the goalkeeper that the ball just wouldn't come through quite quickly enough to prevent him having to meet Gray's challenge, but he did so. Not for the first time. Stevens forward, and they're onside this time. It's Gray trying to cut off any back pass by McGrath, who did well to turn. Nice play by Hughes. This is Olsen. No, it's not, it's Ratcliffe. Surging forward from the back, the Everton captain, and again Bailey called upon to come out of his 18-yard area. And there's no doubt in the opening half hour that Gary Bailey is the busier of the two goalkeepers. Ratcliffe saw his chance there to overtake the rest of his own team. Gray, Sheedy, Bracewell, and Bailey's there again. Bracewell pushing forward for Everton, but he's also doing quite a stern job on Brian Robson in the midfield as well. And here, Bailey got down at his feet. Stephen. Bracewell is not to be found too far away from Brian Robson in that midfield contest. And Reed and Whiteside together there. And then Whiteside competes with Stephen. Albiston. United looking for the long ball out to release one of their strikers. But Everton hold firm as they have for so much of the season. Barely a flicker of panic in front of this goalkeeper through their arduous programme. That was Gidman to Vanden Hauwe though. Robson and Gray. Foul tackle from behind by Gray. Quickly taken by Strachan. He's looking for Hughes, but the referee hasn't sorted out the original incident. He wants to have a word with Andy Gray, possibly about the trip, or maybe about the fact that Gray has had one or two moments of dissent. We've been playing for half an hour, and the referee's handkerchief comes into use here for John Gidman. Oh, that was rather late too. That was Gray on Strachan. And I'm just wondering whether Andy Gray is getting on the wrong side of the referee here. He claimed he went for the ball. Peter Willis didn't agree. Gidman with the kick. Whiteside and Hughes in together. Away by Stevens, only to Albiston. Now Jesper Olsen. Stephen. Albiston. Well, with Terry Butcher ruled out of the England squad apparently, there's a chance perhaps that in the not too distant future Derek Mountfield will complete an entire team of current international squad players. Sharp. Just over half an hour gone in the 1985 FA Cup final. Everton looking perhaps the more likely scorers, but nothing between the teams that matters so far. Sharp, Whiteside. Those fans behind those fences there won't be sitting on those bench seats for much longer. They're going to be replaced by more comfortable seats before next season here at Wembley. One of many improvements being carried out. Not before time. That was McGrath. On by Olsen. Forward by Moran. Stapleton a good jump, but he was fouled by Gary Stevens. Here's Reed for Everton. They haven't got Sheedy into the game much so far. This is Van den Hauw. They might now. Sheedy finds Bracewell. Sharp is offside. Manchester United were the last team to beat Everton in an FA Cup tie. Over 2 years ago. Everton have played 14 FA Cup matches since without defeat. Here's Hughes for United. Whiteside. Ploughing on. But the referee will not give the free kick that Whiteside was looking for. With Reed, Manchester United throw. Stapleton, another good touch by him. Hughes appeared to be fouled, or thought he was. The referee said play on. This is Sheedy. Offside against Sharp. And that looks like a booking for Brian Robson. Just under 10 minutes left in the first half, and the England and Manchester United captain has his name taken. After the ball had gone, in by Sheedy. Everton were developing play across the face of the pitch there when Brian Robson got involved, and you could see that he pushed and shoved and perhaps tripped his man as the ball ran away. The referee decided that was a booking for the captain. Here's Ratcliffe. Now Andy Gray is well placed. So is Trevor Steven. There are four in the centre waiting for Everton. Sharp is coming in far side. Volleyed away by John Gidman for the corner. Now this is where Everton have been so dangerous this season. The business of defending that near post area occupies the opposition, and then Mountfield and Sharp may come in late. And often a second corner result. Steven, though, doesn't need it. Gidman heads out. Stapleton's was the first clearance, Gidman's the second. Robson, Olsen. He's taking on Bracewell, is Jesper Olsen. Hughes in the centre. But Everton again covering in numbers and coming out of defence. quite smoothly with Bracewell here. Stephen, in the way was Augustin, and now it's Moran. The pace of the match appears to be picking up. Robson. Right side, Olsen. Here's Gidman. And now Strachan. Hughes coming towards the near post. And Strachan with a floater. Out by Gary Stevens. Peter Reid. Took the ball out. Jesper Olsen beginning to find his way into the match. Hughes. Gidman. Well, he's looking for a free kick for obstruction against Sheedy, and he's got it. Sheedy obstructed Gidman. Moran is up on the far side of the penalty area. He's the furthest man over. Two more, and in fact, Ryan Robson is still well in there. There were appeals for hands, not given. Augustin, Stapleton with Van den Hauwe coming over him. Olsen, Augustin, Stevens. And Manchester United, who've spent periods defending, have now got a chance to sustain their own attack. Only troubled Everton in little bursts so far. Here's Olsen. And then not troubled them too severely. But 5 minutes left in the first half. Always a dangerous time. Here's Olsen. Robson. Good turn. Deflection. But a goal kick. Did you think the booking on Brian Robson was fair, Jimmy?
Well, not if it was for the incidents that we actually saw. I don't think that merited a booking. I have a feeling that something happened after that. We may be able to establish it later on, and we may not. But on the other hand, for that particular tackle, I think in a cup final that was a harsh booking. And I imagine, knowing Peter Willis very well, a referee who looks completely relaxed this afternoon, he's had time for a smile once or twice, he wouldn't make a mistake like that.
Right side, offside. Olsen on the far wing. Whiteside very much involved in that midfield tangle, as we knew he would be. Mountfield forward. Sharp is the player chasing. McGrath. Sharp still busy. Moran. Nicely done. Just under 4 minutes left in the first half of this FA Cup final. Manchester United 0, Everton 0. Forward by Stevens. Ought to be said that up to now the match hasn't quite lived up to the spectacular expectations, but that may have been asking too much, and there's a long way to go. Here's Stapleton. Hughes to Robson. absolutely brilliant sunshine now as Olsen looks for the long pass, but Gary Stevens was more determined than he. Here's Orbiston, Robson. Wales versus Northern Ireland there. Bracewell. Here's Robson. Stephen. Reid. Two minutes left in the first half. Right side, offside against Stapleton. My feeling is the shape and flow of the match has been disturbed by the number of free kicks. Referee has to give them because the offsides are quite correctly being flagged. But we haven't seen either side yet put together a prolonged spell of the sweet football of which one or both is capable. Forward by Mountfield. Vanden Howell. Gray's closing on the far side. It was a good header out in the circumstances by Moore, and he had to clear from both Sharp and Gray. Play on, says the referee. Olsen. Good cover by Mountfield, but here's Stapleton. What a lovely piece of technique on the line by Frank Stapleton there. Applauded, and rightly so, by the supporters.
Well, you mentioned Frank Stapleton. He has been the Manchester United player in form. Anything that's happened up front has happened as a result of his know-how, not aggression. He's become a silky smooth player up front, Frank Stapleton. He knows how to play the game, and he uses all that knowledge to the very best effect. Him at the front and Gary Bailey at the back have been United's heroes up to now and done most for their day's money.
Up because Sheedy was challenged by Hughes when the ball had gone. The linesman saw it, the referee has acknowledged it, but can't stop play yet because the ball hasn't gone dead, but he is aware of what happened. This is Moran, and there is Hughes. Olsen looking for Whiteside here. Derek Mountfield staying so cool to thwart Norman Whiteside in stoppage time at the end of the first half. Olsen. Bracewell. So at half-time, in the 104th FA Cup final, the score between the side hoping to clinch the league and cup double as well as a treble, Everton, and the team for whom this would be the only major honour of the season, Manchester United, is 0-0. Everton perhaps have had slightly the edge. Reid had a shot deflected onto the post, but they haven't scored yet, and the cup final is still wide open. Royal guest, the Duke of Kent, awaits the start of the second half of this FA Cup final, in which Everton could still make history. Manchester United out to stop them, playing now from the right. Here's Strachan. And that's on by Stapleton. It was Ratcliffe who went down and looked to be in a bit of pain. Now, Strachan was the man in possession. It seemed a fair challenge, but Ratcliffe, I think, caught the blow behind the left leg. But he's up, and he's about, and he's back in defence as Gidman prepares to take the throw for Manchester United. Stapleton, Reed, coming to Robson. Can Whiteside do anything from here? Reed, Andy Gray, bit of space here if he can reach it, but he couldn't. On the last 6 occasions these two clubs have met in the FA Cup, 1 goal has separated them every time, and 5 times it's been 1-0. So I suppose a tight game, the form book is to be believed, was on the cards. Here's Whiteside. And now Gidman. Robson. Stephen. McGrath. Augustin. Outfield stretching, but Stapleton got there. Challenge by Bracewell was deemed to be fair. Here's Stephen. Looks for Gray. He got the flick on, but McGrath was covering behind Moran. Looped up by McGrath for Albiston. Bracewell. Sheedy. That's a foul. Gidman was the man who was pulled up. Now, if this cup final isn't going to get bogged down, we need some imagination or some inspiration from somebody fairly quickly. Sheedy's free kicks have worked the oracle before for Everton. And Gray, and Stephen. Gray thought he was fouled. He's appealing to the referee. Reed, nothing doing. Ratcliffe, offside. And this conversation between Gray and the referee hasn't finished. Robson, Sheedy, Gray. Trevor Stephen is through the middle, but he's offside. Latching on to Reed's pass was Stephen, but the flag was up against him. Here's Whiteside. And now Stapleton. Whiteside's in the centre, so is Hughes. Hughes knocked it back. Robson, he got it all wrong.
Well, that's the 4th shot I've counted England's captain, Brian Robson, having. And although it wasn't an easy one, the ball was high and he tried to get it before it got down. Just take a look now at whether Andy Gray was pushed in that situation there by McGrath. You can judge, we got to it a touch late, but he certainly seemed to protest about it. But,
here comes Gray again. Bad ball by Albiston. It was Gary Stevens who collected. So a penalty appeal at one end, a miss-hit shot at the other, and still no goals. Here's Reed for Everton. Gray. Olsen. Whiteside. Don't think Moran was quite expecting that, but he found Gidman. Now Strachan. And attackers are finding it very hard to make an impression. The game is so crowded in that midfield. Everybody seems to be there. But now Whiteside. Stapleton, who's looked probably the best technician on the field. Not a bad ball and away by Stevens. Sharp. Even the strikers seem to be playing in the centre of the pitch. Trevor Stevens. There's nobody in the United half yet for Everton. But now Stevens, and there won't be now either. Orbiston. And Robson. United have got 5 up. Who's in the middle? Here's Strachan. The two to his right. But is it going to open up at last? Bracewell says it is. Trevor Stevens. In the centre, Gray and Sharp. Sharp can find Sheedy if he wants him. He didn't. He preferred to cross it. Here is Sheedy, in fact. Whiteside. Talk about casual and skillful. What a nice little cameo from Norman Whiteside. It's not just about aggression. Reed. Stevens. Reed. Gray. Bracewell. Looking for Sheedy. Strachan was back there. The Everton supporters who are gathered at the tunnel end. The end which Everton are attacking now. Here's Sharp. Flick on. Corner given. Now Everton's manager and coach know that they've done well from corners this season. Stephen will take this one. Right side, it's going to come down for Reed and Strachan. Hughes volleys it clear. And United begin to come out. Orbiston. Orbiston. Stapleton's in the centre. Orbiston pulled it back from a tight angle. Well done that. It's given Manchester United something to bite on here. Their supporters massed in their ranks behind that goal. They haven't seen quite the colourful football they were hoping for yet. Robson's shooting has been a little off-key, otherwise Manchester United could have had a goal. Outfield. Onside, Graham Sharp. They gathered round him so quickly. Now it's Strachan. 3 ahead of him for Manchester United. One of them is Hughes, against Ratcliffe, his international colleague. And Hughes again. Gidman. Little Strachan working a position there with some deft skill. Olsen back to Robson, outside of the foot, and outside of him is Orbiston. And Stapleton is waiting for it to drop. Sheedy to Bracewell. And Sharp. And Bracewell again. It was Robson that came through him. I thought he went for the ball. On that occasion anyway. Free kick's been given. Just over 10 minutes gone in the second half. No score. a feeling that the game is warming up, and always that conscious mood in the air that at one mistake could matter so much. Gray's in there. So many cup finals have finished 1-0. Reid to Stevens. Stevens again, and Reid again. And still Reid. And Sheed is there. And Gray! Andy Gray. Reid's inspirational build-up made that possible. It started even before that, but he turned the ball back into Sheedy. It was set up for Gray, but frankly it was further wide than it looked first off. But Reid saw the opportunity and Gray failed to take it. Brandon Howe. Scrap going on between Robson and Bracewell, and Manchester United get the free kick, having just had a let-off.
You can talk about the young players as I did before this final, but when you come down to the battle, it's the veterans really, the experienced players who really dominate it there. The Reids and Stapletons of this world know what they're at. Football takes a long time to learn, extraordinarily enough. And those players have used every minute of their football experience out here today to bring some kind of form and semblance to this match. It's catching a light now, but you might almost have said before, if you want to take 22 international players and bore people, what do? You play modern tactics, but it's livening up now.
So it's Everton's free kick to be taken by Ratcliffe. Referee's not happy. Norman Whiteside being called across, Graham Sharp being spoken to. There's a cutting edge to the match now that wasn't there in the first half, and the referee spotted some shoving there off the ball as they waited for that free kick, and he's quite determined to stamp it out. They're still not far away from each other, but Ratcliffe will now take the kick. Gary Bailey seeing Mark Hughes and Mountfield 1 against 1, but the Everton centre-half won it. Olsen. Now he's running into blind alleys there. Can Orbiston do better? No. Brandon Howe. That was Reid. McGrath is in the air again. Stephen heading it on. That came off Bracewell. Some news as Hughes chases Ratcliffe here. Did it come off the arm of the Everton player? Referee has said play on. Not intentionally said. Some news coming through from Hampden Park, where Dundee United have taken the lead against Celtic in the 100th Scottish Cup final. Stuart Beattie, the scorer of the goal. And an hour gone in the English FA Cup final. 0-0 between Everton and Manchester United. Well, that score should, or would have pleased Andy Gray if he hadn't been too busy to listen, because he's an ex-Dundee United player. was Gray and this is Reed. Indeed, Dundee United played Manchester United in the European competition, the UEFA Cup, earlier this season. Manchester United put them out. Stapleton. And there's Strachan, who knows what Scottish Cup finals are all about, having played in the last 3 before this year. Sharp. Here's Robson. Whiteside was well forward. Stevens coming across to meet Hughes. Came off Stephen, but Stevens again covers. Now it's Gray and Moran. All fall down. And again, Andy Gray contesting the referee's verdict. Which wasn't in his favour. Here's Olsen. And Albiston up to Stapleton. And again, so tight is Mountfield. They're relentless, these Everton centre-backs. Don't allow the opposition to settle for a moment. Albiston. On the chest of the England captain. And forward to Olsen, and now Hughes. And Whiteside's through the middle. Can he do it? Great stop by Southall. So typical from Norman Whiteside, and how often the Everton fans have had reason to be grateful to their goalkeeper, and his teammates too have looked upon saves like this as being as important as match-winning goals. It did suggest it might be a midfield player who would get through, and it was Whiteside, who normally makes his name on the big occasion. And it was the cleanest and clearest chance of the afternoon. There's no question about that. Mark Hughes put him through. Whiteside was on his way, and Southall, that was a superb block. Whiteside again. Can United sustain it? Albiston. Olsen. Blocked by Stephen. Throw in to Manchester United. Whiteside, a scorer here in the final of both Milk Cup and FA Cup 2 years ago. Foiled by Southall this time. Albiston. Robson. Whiteside. Stevens header out to Stephen. Well, the goalkeeper a year ago against Watford pulled off a very similar save from Mo Johnston, I recall. And a matter of minutes later, Everton went up the other end and scored. Jimmy Hill feels I'm tempting fate, but we shall see. Ron Atkinson won't be too happy if I am. Strachan, Ratcliffe, Sheedy. Olsen. Albiston. Brian Robson into Olsen again. And Gidman's made a very good run from right back. He had to check because he would have been offside, and Olsen didn't release the ball soon enough to put him in position, and now he's going to have to hurry back. Gray. Bracewell. Reed. Sheedy. That was Sharp who was fouled. Now that's not too far out in terms of Sheedy crossing a dangerous ball, which they'll be hoping he does down there. Gray's made his early run, and McGrath headed it out, and Goodman got there to give it to Whiteside, but here's Ratcliffe. Driven forward again. Strachan. Oh, well intercepted by Gary Stevens. Won't be long, surely, before he gets his first cap for England. Stephen. Reed. Again, Robson close with the challenge. This is Stevens. Nice play by Everton. Bracewell here. Sharp and Gray waiting in the centre, but driven away by Whiteside, and it's found Stapleton, and that is a foul by Kevin Ratcliffe, which has laid Stapleton low. Here's Jimmy Hill.
Well, just to deal with that incident, in referring back to that Brian Robson one, if he had his name taken for that tackle, well, there's no question in my mind that the same thing should have happened there, but tit for tat gets you nowhere at the end of the day. Fascinating, really. I mentioned before the match, there it is, you see. I mean, he knew he was beaten by the ball there and just did a body check, which is not one of the recognised tackle in the laws of association football. Ice hockey, maybe? Anyway, but he made a quick apology, and you often see players do that and influence the referee. You know, it's as well to do it that way, accept the decision, and sometimes you get away with it. But it is fascinating. I said that there was the danger that I've always been expecting Everton to get caught sometime this season, and I'm wondering whether that moment is just about to arrive now.
Well, we shall soon see. Manchester United with a line of 5 waiting for this free kick to be taken by Kevin Moran. Bracewell's header out. Strachan against Sheedy. As we approach the last 20 minutes, it'll be interesting to see whether any sort of tiredness does creep in, particularly on Everton's part after their midweek exertions. And on a tiring surface too, in heat. This is Robson. Stapleton's up there. But they've been so indestructible throughout the year that you really give up looking for flaws in this Everton makeup. And when one appears, Southall seems to come along to make a dramatic save, as he did from Whiteside. That was on by Sharp. Olsen. Reed. And still. Brilliant run by Peter Reed. McGrath was the man who stopped him at the last. The danger isn't over yet. Sharp found Stephen. And McGrath heads out again. Stevens. Everton pressing. Van den Hauwe. Sheedy. Gray is coming in behind Moran. Bailey beat him to it. And Olsen tucked it inside to Stapleton. Stevens forward, Stephen to Gray, Sharp's in the middle, Bracewell's moved forward, Sheedy's over on the far side, jumping with Gidman. Strachan. United have been pinned back for a while. Olsen. Hughes. Oh, nicely done. Hughes and Olsen found their way through there. Can they do it again? Hughes is on his way. Good block by Mountfield. Corner to Manchester United. Stapleton, McGrath and Whiteside are all hovering near the post, but it's been played short to Olsen. In again to McGrath and Strachan, and a chance here for Stapleton. Defender blocked it. Hughes, and they're still packed in there. Flags up. Van Hau's arguing with the linesman, but a free kick's been given to Manchester United, who came close there in the penalty area. Stapleton span and shot, and there was a blue shirt in the way. Can they press it home here? Owen was the man up. And Sharp, the man who cleared. Well, we had 5 or 10 minutes of Everton, and now we've got a spell of Manchester United attacking. Bear in mind the possibility again of extra time, which happened when Manchester United played Brighton here 2 years ago. Gidman with the throw. Sheedy. This is Sharp. Robson intercepts. Strachan to Gidman. Sheedy this time with the tackle. Van den Hau. How important, I wonder, will Southall's save prove at the end of the day? Forward by Mountfield. Sharp and Gray are there. This is Sharp. And now Strachan. He got away from Van den Hau. It's Strachan. And he took on Mountfield, but couldn't possibly hope to beat Ratcliffe as well. He was going for glory there. And there were too many blue shirts around. Referee has again spotted something off the ball, and Andy Gray is in trouble, and frankly, I think the referee has lost patience with him. There have been 4 or 5 arguments between the two in the course of the afternoon, and finally Gray gets his name taken. He was tangling there with Moran, and I think Gray's dissent really has got him into trouble over the course of the match with the referee. He's been answering back quite a lot and finally gets booked. 15 minutes to go. Strachan just underlines Jimmy Hill's point that bearing in mind the 2 bookings we have seen, perhaps Ratcliffe was rather fortunate with his tackle on Stapleton. Here's Reid. Oof, Robson charging into Reid as the tension heightens. Cup final has been played at Wembley since 1923, and there's never been a 0-0 draw. Are we going to see a goal today? This is Reid. Trevor Stephen. And now it's Bracewell. Whiteside. It came off Sheedy. Vanden Hauwe for Everton. Into Gray. So the double and the treble is still on. It might not have been had that save not kept Everton in the game. Strachan, Stapleton, and Strachan again. Now then, Robson, that was good play by Strachan, and Robson offside, Hughes. They know, Manchester United, that against defences like Everton and Liverpool, you've got to try to get the runner through the centre if you can, and timing it right to avoid the flag. They've done it before, they did it with Whiteside today, really, but not on that occasion. Here's Mountfield. Gray is coming in. Good header out by McGrath. But here's Stephen. Whiteside and Mountfield. Now Reed. Stapleton trying to harass him. Ratcliffe across. Good ball. McGrath's header too is firm. And Strachan into Hughes. Very much a match for defenders so far. But can a forward still win it? McGrath. Oh, mistake by McGrath. Everton are through here. Oh! Well, Reed has been brought down by Kevin Moran. And that has to be a booking at the very least. Peter Reed has been brought down. Moran will be booked. But I have a feeling that if Reed could have passed that ball a moment earlier, one of two other... Oh, he tried to, in fairness. He was trying to find Gray. And is he going to be sent off or not? It looks as though Peter Willis is going to send Kevin Moran off. It was the denying of the goal-scoring opportunity, and we could have a player sent off in the FA Cup final for the first time ever. Kevin Moran has lost his head now because he thinks Peter Willis is sending him off, and they're trying to restrain him. And Kevin Moran makes the sort of history that no player would want. Manchester United are going to be reduced to 10 men because Moran is sent off by the referee with 11 minutes to go, or has he been injured? I would have thought it looks as though he's been sent off, although he may be injured as well. Peter Reed is trying to console him. And what a dramatic moment here at Wembley. Ron Atkinson going back to the bench, clearly shattered by that, as Moran is. And Everton have the free kick, and Manchester United's nerves could be rattling because of that incident. Sheedy floats it in. Gray heading it back. Gary Stevens. Trevor Steven. They're still waiting on the far side. In by Bracewell. Appeals for hands, not given. Well, over on the bench they're pointing and shouting to try to reorganise. They've got to get somebody into the back four, and I rather think it'll be Stapleton, who went back there in the Milk Cup final 2 years ago because of injury and has gone there to mark Andy Gray. Extraordinary. The booing is from the Manchester United end. They're down to 10 men, and Stapleton's got a completely new job on here. 10 minutes to go, and Everton have now an advantage they could never have expected. Gary Stevens. Gray. Reed. To go, Reed again. Gray. Stevens. And now let's get a word from Jimmy Hill.
Well, in the time I shall have to comment on that, John, I might not get much in. An extraordinary decision. There are reasons why... Oh! And another foul, and I do hope it's not going to spoil what up to now may not have been the most exciting day in the world, but it's been a very well-behaved day. And It is a pity that now all the drama and all the tension is going to boil over as Everton take this free kick. It's taken all the flow out of the game now. It's about emotion and excitement rather than football.
So, Manchester United with their backs to the wall. It's going to be Sheedy or Stephen. Mountfield's made his run. Offside flag was up against Andy Gray, so it wouldn't have counted if the ball had gone through. The first ever sending off in the FA Cup final. But bear in mind, a couple of years ago, referees had a directive to send a player off if they felt the foul deprived the goal-scoring opportunity. It's later been rescinded, I appreciate that, but Peter Willis, Gray forward. Peter Willis decided that that was a serious enough offence. I'm assuming in all this that Moran didn't say something when he was being booked, because we've got to bear in mind, not hearing what goes on down there could have been some dissent following the booking. So it's unwise to make a final judgment until we know that. Hughes, Strachan. Still Strachan for United, the 10 men. And Robson's coming in. Couldn't quite make it the first time. Hughes waiting in the middle. So is Whiteside, and here comes Kidman. There's no Stapleton up there now, he's back at centre-half. Kidman again. Robson.
Well, we were looking for excitement, and we've certainly got that now. The stadiums are cordoned. Everybody caught up in the atmosphere and the argument over that decision. As John said, it's absolutely true that for a period the league gave referees and encouraged referees to send players off in those situations. But that was when you could really know that the foul was calculated and premeditated. Although that did bring down Reid when he was through, it was done only fractionally late, so it would have been possible to have given Moran, under these circumstances, the benefit of the doubt.
Just over 6 minutes to go. Still 0-0, but Manchester United a man short following the sending off of Kevin Moran. And with Stapleton playing centre-half, they're pushing forward with Jesper Olsen. Ulverston. Hughes, Ulverston, got his shot in even then. He surprised Stevens, but he didn't surprise Southall. We're 5 minutes away from extra time here. And Stapleton, in an unusual position, takes the free kick. And Strachan. He's taken on Mountfield, but he couldn't get the ball past him. Mountfield is injured. Are Everton's legs going to tire now, after all they've been through? And with a possible extra half hour to come, Ron Atkinson may feel that Manchester United's best chance, even with 10 men, perversely, could be now. Because Mountfield is in difficulties. John Trincard, the physio, behind the goal, and they may take the corner while he's still down. Olsen with it. Or the linesman saying, no, hold it. Well, we've got it all happening here now. 4 minutes to go. And it's McGrath and Robson up together. the referee has given a goal kick, which Everton will be pleased about. But he overran it there. Whiteside, and a little scuffle between Whiteside and Bracewell, which fortunately comes to nothing more than that. Well, there haven't been many players sent off at Wembley. One recalls Ratin in the famous 1966 incident, and also Gilbert Dresch, the Luxembourg player, was ordered off here in a World Cup qualifier, I think, and now poor, disconsolate Kevin Moran. Stapleton. Whiteside. Onside, Mark Hughes, but look at Southall. He came off his line like an express train. Olsen. Stapleton, he's coming out of his centre-half position. What can he do? Olsen, Stapleton. There's 2 minutes to go of the 90, a mistake by Mountfield to collect his item almost. Hughes. Here's Gidman. Still John Gidman. Whiteside, Gidman goes again, brilliant saving challenge by Pat Van Hal. Much appreciated by his goalkeeper. What a storming finish to the normal period. They're up there at the near post. It's been cleared by Andy Gray, only to Albiston. Strachan. They're appealing for offside, and it's been given against Jesper Olsen. The last minute of normal time. No score, but with an extra half hour beckoning, Manchester United down to 10 men. So much has gone for Everton this season. Are they still going to clinch the treble and, of course, the double? Sheedy takes the free kick. And it went right across and no one could make contact. I hear a turnaround at Hampden Park. Celtic now leading Dundee United 2-1 after earlier being a goal down, so drama there too. We're in stoppage time at the end of the 90 minutes, and it's offside against Graham Sharp. And that is the end of the normal period. The booing by the Manchester United fans because their centre-half has to stay where he is, and he's inconsolable. The 10 men have got to manage without poor Kevin Moran, sent off following a challenge on Peter Reid. Whether he said something to Peter Willis after that, we couldn't tell from here, but here's Jimmy Hill with his feelings on the first 90 minutes.
Well, knowing Peter Willis and knowing his views on the game, I'm quite sure that in his own mind and conscience, he felt that he was applying the spirit of the law in exactly the right way on an occasion like this. Having said that, you can't help having a lot of sympathy for Manchester United because there were similar incidents, shall we say, and one particularly at the other end, and it doesn't seem to be justice that one team at this stage should have 11 and one should have 10. But United know they've got to hang out for a half an hour and they get a replay with 11 players. And really, that's what they should aim to do.
And we have a substitution. Mike Duxbury's on for Arthur Albiston for Manchester United. So they've had to reorganise now in more ways than one. Duxbury has gone into the left-back position. And just one observation on that sending off. If Moran goes for that, then if you want to just refer back in cup final history, Willie Young should have gone for the tackle on Paul Allen 5 years ago, if we're going to be consistent. If you remember that, Willie Young got booked when Allen was clean through, he brought him down. And Manchester United now to start the first period of extra time with the score 0-0 and Strachan on the ball. Kidman. Now the Manchester United back four now reads Kidman, McGrath, Stapleton and Duxbury. You wouldn't have put much money on that at the start of the afternoon. Although, as I said, Frank has played there before at Wembley in that Milk Cup match against Liverpool for a spell. I think Moran went off that day injured. He certainly hasn't had a lot of luck at Wembley, has he? Here's Ratcliffe. Nice turn by Bracewell. That was Duxbury. Reed. This is Vanden Hauwe. Sharp is coming in and Bailey comes over his own defender. That was in fact Stapleton. Reed. And Gary Stevens. And Sheedy as Everton press forward to try to clinch their third trophy. Bracewell and Brian Robson tangling. Celtic have won the Scottish Cup. The 100th final goes their way by 2-1 against Dundee United. Success there for David Hay and his team. And here's Paul McGrath for Manchester United. Ratcliffe. And that was Stephen, and this is Duxbury. And Hughes took that nicely. He hasn't got Stapleton to play with up there at the moment, but he did have Robson and he has got Strachan. Olsen obstructed by Gary Stevens. Free kick to Manchester United just outside the area. So Stapleton will go forward again now. Oh, Stevens missed it. Good thing there was some cover behind him by Mountfield. This is McGrath. Kidman. McGrath again. Looking for Strachan. Well, apart from last year, extra time has become something of a permanent fixture now in cup finals here. Flags up for offside, and the referee, Peter Willis, won't be the most popular man in Manchester this summer. A feeling it was he who sent off City's Andy May in a league match against Oldham, was it, just before the end of the season. And now he's dismissed Kevin Moran in the biggest showpiece of them all, the FA Cup final. That was Duxbury. And Olsen taken out by Gary Stevens. Still Nothing separating these two teams. Duxbury. Robson. Half away by Ratcliffe. United still playing with some verve and some enthusiasm. Spurred on perhaps by the very fact they are down to 10. But here's Gray, and now Sharp and McGrath. And it's Graham Sharp for Everton. Stapleton doing defensive duty now. So is Duxbury. Robson. McGrath's looked an accomplished player, this number 5, fulfilling all the potential that Ron Atkinson's been telling us all season that he's got. Offside against Jesper Olsen. Born just down the road from Wembley, at Ealing actually, Paul McGrath, before his family went back to Ireland. 5 minutes gone in the first period of extra time, and the score is still 0-0. Reid. What an irony when you think that Moran nearly didn't play in the final. Graham Hogg was the man in possession in some of the preceding weeks leading up to it. Now United have got neither of them. Here's Reid. And this is Bracewell to strike it. Good save by Bailey. It came through a crowd from Paul Bracewell. Actually, he got a good view once it got past McGrath. Robson. Hughes, can he get Olsen away on the left? Robson's the only player in the penalty area here for Manchester United. Hughes is there now. It's got to go back, Whiteside. Just a reminder that the replay, should there be one, is scheduled for Thursday. But, as I said before, we've never had a 0-0 draw in an FA Cup final. That's how we stand with extra time underway. Vanden Hauwe, Bracewell, Reid, Vanden Hauwe again. It's Hughes who's gone down for Manchester United. Mountfield. That came off Robson to Gidman. And still John Gidman. Strachan's made a good run, but he saw Olsen on the far side. Leon, Olsen still, Robson just behind him, number 7. Looks a bit tired actually, this is Gidman. Duxbury to Whiteside. And offside against Hughes. Brian Robson's socks rolled down, shin pads well away, as the conditions start to take their toll. But who will they affect most? The 10 men of Manchester United, or the side who won a European trophy only 3 days ago? Sheedy. And Ratcliffe had joined the attack there. Suppose the extra man is going to come into focus at some stage here. Gidman taking them on in a rather dangerous area and puts Strachan into a tight corner also. Bracewell. Golly, Manchester United there could have been punished. But this is Strachan. And so is this, but Mountfield in the way. Now that looked offside, but he's onside in fact. This is Gray. Sheedy's in the centre, so is Sharp. Stephen. Sheedy's are not one back in. Sharp actually wanted it. Stephen. Reid. Jimmy Hill.
I'm so glad that didn't go in, because it would have been really unjust. There was no question when that ball was played forward. The front player, I think it was Gray, was in an offside position, and the linesman was on the run and was caught by it, and it would have been grossly unfair, bearing in mind what's happened up to now. Officials, I'm afraid to say, in all the excitement, not quite 100%.
Here's Gray, away from Stapleton, who misjudged it slightly, and then there was a foul. He held Gray back. Free kick to Everton. Sheedy has lined it up, and he's found Ratcliffe, who's fed one in, and Mountfield was there, and here comes Van den Hauwe. That's a corner, there was a block. Norman Whiteside saving Gary Bailey from having to make a save. Mountfield was in so much space, they left him completely unattended. Good block by Whiteside. Corner to Everton. 10 minutes into extra time. Sheedy. Mountfield and Bailey up together, and a corner given on this side. Manchester United unhappy about it, complaining to the referee. But a corner it's got to be. Now Van den Hauwe and Sharp are in the near post vicinity. Robson's header away, but the danger is not finished. Stephen. Strachan saved it from going. Foul. Van den Hauwe on Robson. By Ratcliffe. This is Stevens. Now it's Stephen. Oh, now that's a trip also by Mike Duxbury, who's just come on, which means Manchester United have used 12 internationals now this afternoon, and there are a few in reserve who didn't get a game as well, like the Gordon McQueens and so on. Alan Brazil's with the party. Sharp's in there. Stevens. Three minutes of the first period of extra time remains, and the score in this Marathon Cup final is still 0-0. Manchester United playing with 10 men. Stapleton back there in defence with Gray, and he gets the free kick. Whiteside, that looked a good turn by Norman Whiteside, but Gary Stevens is such a good athlete, you've got to almost beat him and beat him again before you can get away. Duxbury. Here he is again, and here's Hughes, and Duxbury made a good run there. They want somebody in the box. If they'd had somebody further forward, they would have scored, because Southall couldn't make it. It was about 8 yards out, and Strachan, the nearest man to it, must have been a couple of yards away. I don't think the other Manchester United players believed that Duxbury could get it in from there, or indeed, maybe they couldn't get forward quick enough. It was an invitation from Duxbury for someone to apply the finishing touch. Sheedy. And Sharp. Well played, McGrath. He's a candidate perhaps for man of the match. Robson. Looking for Olsen on the far side. United have got Whiteside charging forward. Still Olsen. Bit of a save, actually. The last minute of the first period of extra time, with still nothing on the scoreboard. Now Reed. Sharp. Reed inside to Bracewell. Gary Stevens is wide of him, number 2. Looking for Trevor Steven, testing the fitness now of the players, this surface, and indeed the very humid conditions here. They've been out there, or actually playing, for 105 minutes. And at the halfway period in extra time, it'll be a swift change round, but Jimmy Hill's thoughts before we get going again.
Well, I'm trying to count up on both sides the hearts and legs that are still left in a funny kind of way. And you look at Manchester United, John Gidman. Norman Whiteside's had a really good game. He's competed from start to finish and got himself into that goal-scoring position. McGrath, who's been superb throughout. Robson, not himself, but still got some energy left. Strachan still at it, and Hughes has become better since actually Stapleton went off. On the other side, you've got Stevens fresh, Van den Hauwe fresh, the 2 central defenders so, Reed with all the craft, and Bracewell fighting it out in midfield. But Sheedy not himself, Steven not really been able to do it. So I reckon it's about a 7 or 8 aside game at the moment.
Well, Bobby Robson could be down to 7 or 8 unless he's careful. A replay of this final on Thursday would upset the makeup of his World Cup squad for Finland on Wednesday, of course. So he'll be hoping for a goal one way or the other. Mountfield's cross. Gray's coming in. There are England squad players on both sides, but this is Mark Hughes of Wales. Brian Robson's up with the attack, number 7. Sheedy, though, got to Robson. Is he feeling the pace a bit? Kevin Ratcliffe. This is McGrath. Now Duxbury, who came on for Orbiston after the 90 minutes was up. Good touch by Jesper Olsen, but Duxbury had checked to avoid being offside. So Everton still haven't let in a goal at Wembley. It's almost 4 matches they've played here now in recent times. And are we going to see the first goalless Wembley FA Cup final? Or will we see some drama as Olsen latches on to the pass by Stapleton? In the centre is Mark Hughes. Still Olsen. Robson. And there are players coming here. Robson shot. There were players coming to his right, hoping he would lay it off. Gidman. Bracewell. Sharp to Gray. Trevor Steven wide on the right. Possibilities here for Everton. It's still Steven. And Stevens comes through. Olsen had to come back and check him. Sheedy there in the left-back spot because Van den Hauwe has pushed on. Here's Reed. Reed to Gray. Bracewell just to his left. Bracewell shot hits Gidman. Reed. Steven. Gray is closing. He felt he was blocked. Corner anyway. Palmed away by Bailey. Arguments with Whiteside and the goalkeeper. Sharp and Van den Hauwe wait to flick it on. Gray waits to come in. and headed backwards by a defender and turned on. I think it was Brian Robson who almost scored an own goal. Well, that would have been an own goal. I think it was Robson on the near post, and if it was, I'll tell you, it was mighty close. And Everton here seem to have sensed this could be the moment. They have another free kick. But no danger. Well, that was a near thing for Manchester United. This is Olsen. Robson to Hughes. And still Mark Hughes. And a chance here, right side. Defender in the way. Great play by Hughes. Well, it has completely opened up, and if you can predict anything, a goal looks more likely now than at any other time in the afternoon. They've got Gray on the ball, Sharp is coming in, Gidman, McGrath, half blocked by Sheedy, Vandenhauw. Everton are looking for the treble now without a doubt, a man to spare. Vandenhauw chips it in. Gray, but still Manchester United playing with great pluck and intelligence, get the ball out, and they've made their own openings already in extra time, and this fellow Hughes is coming into it more and more, and here's Whiteside. Strachan is following up, Olsen on this side, that's all he's got. Whiteside shoots, it's there! Norman Whiteside has done it again! Embraced by his colleagues after putting Manchester United in front with a goal out of nothing. The youngest scorer in Wembley FA Cup final history 2 years ago. He's still only just 20, and he writes another chapter in one of the great storybook biographies of post-war football. He planted that left foot shot wide of the Footballer of the Year after 110 minutes. Manchester United in front, but it's Stephen with the cross, and Sharp coming in, and McGrath to save it. Is the dream of the treble disappearing? Has the prospect of the League and Cup double gone? Is Whiteside's goal going to win it? Wembley now truly on fire. There's a tremendous feeling of expectancy on the Manchester United side. Stephen takes the corner. Sheedy! And here's Strachan. A great break by him. And now it's Olsen. Well, what can you say about Manchester United and Norman Whiteside? With only 10 men, they have produced a goal fitting in its way to win a cup final. He had no option apart from one player in the middle, and he took it on himself, kept the responsibility, and with that trusted left foot, planted a marvellous shot past Southall. 8 minutes to go. Olsen. Robson. Gidman. This is Reed. And again. The match and the occasion have come to life in a quite unexpected way. The Everton supporters are absolutely silenced by what's happened. They had the man advantage, but the goal has gone the other way. Low in and away by Duxbury. And this is Whiteside, the goal scorer, who's done much of his good work far deeper than that. Olsen now. Olsen against Gary Stevens. Couldn't take him for pace because Stevens himself is so quick. Knows now how close he is to their second triumph. Olsen to Hughes. Olsen again, away by Ratcliffe. Robson. They're 6 minutes away, Manchester United, from their second FA Cup triumph in 3 seasons. But can Everton, who've come so late so often, save it yet with Trevor Steven? The assistant manager, and Howard Kendall, the Everton boss, reflecting the widely differing emotions on the bench and on the field, and indeed on the terraces. Foul by Mike Duxbury. Tell you that. Ipswich will tell you that. They've often scored in the last 5 minutes, and that's what they've got to do here. So Manchester United, particularly a man short, have got to keep their shape. This is Hughes. Now it's Robson. He's got caught in possession, which could be... Oh, he's fouled Peter Reid. Now Robson has to be careful. He's been booked. Reid, the man at the centre of the Moran controversy. I wouldn't write Everton off even at this stage. Mountfield is up there, Vanden Hauwe is up there. To go. Gray's up. And Strachan. The police gathered in front of the supporters. Always a sure sign there isn't long to go. Bracewell. Stapleton doing a manful job in defence. Has to be that against Andy Gray. And could they get a second on the break? Because that's also a possibility. Through the back door. Jesper Olsen. Well, what drama here. Stapleton playing centre-half. Howard Kendall on his feet. Ron Atkinson also. So much at stake. Ratcliffe with the kick. Stapleton brilliantly away from Gray. And Mark Hughes could set something up. Could he put Jesper Olsen through down the centre against Gary Stevens? He has, but it's a foul. Olsen down, Stevens put him there. I think Brian Robson has said to the referee, well, if you put Moran off, what about that? But it's not the same situation quite. Strachan is having a little argument with Reid. And there are some emotions bubbling over here. Reid had a go, I think, about Robson. But the ball is with Whiteside, who's got Gidman out on the right wing. Only two little men in the middle at the moment. But Gidman's going to play for time. But the corner flag's got the worst of that. I think with 2 minutes to go, a missed kick by Duxbury. Stapleton's there. Reed. There's still work to be done here for Manchester United to prevent Everton from forcing a replay. Sharp's flicked it in. So has Bracewell. Mountfield's up there. Oh, he could so easily have equalised. I don't think he knew how good the chance was. There was no defender anywhere near him. And he put it into a grateful Bailey's arms. Of extra time. Manchester United 1, Everton 0. It doesn't look as though they're going to do the treble or the League and Cup double after all, Everton. Their fans seem to believe that now. And Manchester United, who in the 1977 final upset a treble bid by Everton's neighbours Liverpool, may now do so to Everton themselves. Olsen. And here's Duxbury. Sharp, is there a chance yet? Offside flags up. Won't matter, it's offside. Manchester United have won the FA Cup for the second time in 3 years, and Everton's dream of taking an unprecedented treble is over. Ron Atkinson commiserates with Howard Kendall, and what can you say about Norman Whiteside, a cult figure now in Manchester United history? I say now, and as they console Kevin Moran, the man sent off, he's pleased enough to congratulate the others, because Whiteside, only 20 last week, has won the FA Cup. He was 14-1 to score the first goal before the match, and I hope you don't mind if I say that I was one of those who thought it was worth a bet, because wherever he goes, it's better than boys' fiction. And the Manchester United supporters are well aware of that. So Everton beaten at the final hurdle, and in extra time at that, and with a man over. Bracewell now experiences the other side of the coin after victory in 2 other competitions, and Paul McGrath, who in the humble opinion of this commentator was a candidate for man of the match, he was superb. And the most famous football fan club in the world has Andy Gray holding his head in disbelief. Could you have predicted that? They were down to 10 men, but they still won the cup. And there are the 2 old mates from Aston Villa, John Gidman and Andy Gray, still great friends. Tremendous scenes, and what a finish. And this young man, I wonder when he gets, I was going to say when he becomes a man, but he's never really been a boy in a football sense, Norman Whiteside. When he gets to 30, I wonder if he'll look back and believe what's happened to him. You know for yourself what he's done before now as a teenager. This is what he did today. The angle is looking pretty hopeless. There's nobody up to help him, but it's on his left foot, which is his stronger. He's got a defender in front of him. He's got one of the best goalkeepers in the business to beat, and he's curled that to perfection. And that's the goal that won the cup. That's the goal that ruined the Everton dreams. And that's the goal that sends Ron Atkinson's players up the Wembley steps for the second time in 3 years. Led by Brian Robson to receive the FA Cup from His Royal Highness the Duke of Kent. Says thank you in the best possible way, and the England captain, one of the happiest men inside the stadium, and plenty of them there too. Gary Bailey's goalkeeping was a feature certainly early on, they won't forget that. John Gidman, a winner's medal for him now. Gordon Strachan as well, Whiteside the scorer, McGrath outstanding, the little Dane Jesper Olsen with the cap in his first season at Old Trafford, Stapleton, effective in defence and attack, Hughes, who's plus to Whiteside it should be said, set up that goal, we haven't mentioned that, Mark Hughes making a telling contribution, and Ron Atkinson proud of every one of them, including the substitute at the back, Duxbury. Moran went up for his medal. And applause too for the Football League champions and the European Cup Winners' Cup winners, Everton. They couldn't quite make it 3 in a row, but they played with their usual spirit and performance for long periods. Kevin Ratcliffe this time doesn't take a trophy. And different faces here from those of a year ago. Kiss from the chairman's wife for Peter Reid, a scarf for Derek Mountfield, commiserations for Gary Stevens, disappointment for Trevor Stephen, no action for Alan Harper, frustration for Andy Gray, and a stone wall broken in the end that Southall had put up as Bracewell and Vanden Hauwe collect their losers' medals. So these two teams now will meet again at Wembley in the Charity Shield. Peter Willis, the referee, who had the fortitude and the courage of his convictions to send a player off in an FA Cup final. It will be debated, but he's the man who had to make the decision, and he didn't certainly chicken out of it. The two linesmen taking their medals, and down on the pitch, Manchester United add another page to their glamorous history. The FA Cup is almost forgotten, the trophy itself, in all the celebrations going on around it. But that's what the afternoon, and in many ways the season, certainly for Manchester United, has really been aimed at. Well, these are the scenes now the players always enjoy, but I think one has to say too, what a tremendous season this Everton side have had. They were after something today that's never been done before, the League and Cup double, and it's a good moment too to hear Jimmy Hill's final summary on the afternoon.
Well, my brain told me that sometime this season they'd get caught, and they left it until the very end before they gave way. There's Andy Gray there. He and Sharp at the end of it just really weren't in it. They just run their legs off and could not contribute against the iron defence of United. The extraordinary thing about United for me was the way in which the team was reshaped. Credit to Ron Atkinson here, and somehow improved its performance. Frank Stapleton, who'd been the best player up front, suddenly transformed himself into a superb central defender. I was confident he would do that. But more than that, suddenly, when he was out of the middle and when he was out of the attack, Mark Hughes, who'd had a very quiet afternoon, suddenly revelled in the responsibility and started to produce the kind of touches that have made him so dangerous in season, including the one that laid on the final goal. So the reorganised United was a better side, would you believe?
Well, when they write the Norman Whiteside story, where will they start? And for that matter, where are they going to finish? 2 years ago here, the youngest ever man to score in a cup final at Wembley. He scored in the Milk Cup against Liverpool here. He scored in the FA Cup against Brighton. He's played in the World Cup, younger even there than Pelé. And here he is today, walking around with his Manchester United colleagues, having scored the winning goal in the FA Cup final against Everton, and he's still just 20. And this amazing following that this club has all over the world, like no other club, fan clubs all over the globe organised to follow Manchester United. There'll be supporters watching these pictures in China, in Australia, in Hong Kong, in Asia, in the Americas. Everywhere you go you meet Manchester United supporters, and haven't their players done them proud? They've won the cup with 10 men. And Wembley rises to them.